Hello and welcome everyone to today's cloud coaching session. My name is Tara Van Cleve and I'm a marketing event manager for the developer initiative here at Oracle. Today we're excited to show you an overview of CI/CD pipeline from microservices on Oracle Kubernetes with Oracle DevOps Service. If you do not currently have an Oracle Cloud account, we've got a special promotion with extra credits so that you can try out OCI services and follow along with the demo today. To access the promo, please sign up using the same email that you registered with for today's event. We'll also be recording the session, and the link to the recording will be sent to you via email in the next couple of days. If you have any questions during the webinar, we've set up a channel in our developer public Slack called Cloud Coaching North America that you can access at the QR code or at bit.ly/odevrel_Slack. Once you're in, you'll end in the general channel, and from there, you can search for the webinar channel. We'll also be checking the Zoom chat and Zoom Q&A areas, and we'll open up for live Q&A after the demo concludes. Today's webcast will be presented by Sasanka Abesing, Senior Cloud Engineer. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Sasanka.
Thank you for joining for today's session. So my name is Sasanka Abesing, and I'm Cloud Engineer for Code Innovate team. So today we are going to discuss overview of CI/CD pipeline for microservices on Kubernetes with Oracle DevOps Service. So today's agenda is I'm going to discuss two cloud services. First one is for the Oracle DevOps Service, and the second one is Oracle Container Engine for Kubernetes. And I have like one CI/CD use case with Oracle DevOps Service. And that one I'm going to demonstrate. And after that, I'm going to go with the Code Innovate program. And if you have any question, I'm happy to answer those questions. So first of all, why OCI DevOps? It's a cloud native, so there is no DevOps service to maintain. So that's kind of how to operate. So when you go with the CI/CD workflow, you can integrate with the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure platform. And with that, you can get logging, notification, identity, and security. Those features come up with that. And come up with the security, if you can securely deploy this into the either computer host or Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Registry, like OKE, or more than if you have any other third-party CI/CD tools as well. So the flexibility, if you come with the flexibility, we can meet with the developers. They can interchangeably, you can work with that, and you can integrate with CI/CD pipeline with the existing tooling. If you have like a Jenkins plugins, you can integrate that one also. So the other than finally, we can go with this developer-friendly pricing. So there is no per user charge. And if you have like a DevOps cost, they are all underlying built on the compute or the code repository storage. So that's the good thing for the developer-friendly pricing. So when you're going with the CI/CD platform for the OCI DevOps, so this is how the DevOps service works during in the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So we have like a code base. We just commit your code changes. Either you can push into your code either you can use for the GitHub or Bitbucket or any other third party, or we have our own code repository for our OCI DevOps. So we have like a two basic pipeline. So we can go with first one. We have the build pipeline, which is for the continuous integration, and for the second point, for the deployment pipeline for the continuous deployment. So the first thing, we have to run the build, and then we have like two separate artifacts we can generate from there for the build, which you can see over there for the container registry and the artifact registry. For the container registry, it's going to be mainly your code and images is going to store there. If you have like a Kubernetes manifest file, it's going to be stored in the artifact registry. So when you go into the deployment pipeline, so you can either deploy this into the OKE or any other computes compute services. Because the thing is, if you have like any other integration test or any kind of approval, you need to get it done from when you're working with the multiple people in your team, and you can do it from there as well. So those three platforms we can have to deploy. Either you can do it from the VM or bare metal compute host, or you can go with the OKE, or either you can go with the serverless functions. So that's a entire outline for the DevOps service. So if you're going with the continuous integration, we have like a serverless and scalable, and there is no instance to manage. And we can go with the integrated with your own resources. And also we can complete native CI/CD platform. For the serverless, for the pricing, we don't want to pay for you only pay for the consume either memory or compute, or pay for a code repository storage. When you're going with the integrated with your own resources, either you can run your build pipeline with your own GitHub or GitLab repositories, or Bitbucket is also supported. Either you can use it DevOps, their own code repository. It is securely and private Git storage. For the complete native CI/CD platform, you can connect this deployment from the build pipeline, and you can trigger if you have like any kind of a commit or a push into your code, it will automatically trigger. So once you trigger, it will deliver all the artifact registries like OCI artifact repositories, and then you can you can integrate with your own OCI vault as well as a secret. So when you come up with the DevOps continuous deployment, so we have like a release strategies. Either you can reduce your downtime and faster recovery. So we have like a couple of deployment strategies like blue-green deployment and canary stage. So you can minimize the downtime and increase your confidence on your deployment. And also you can perform the global deployment across the region. So this is another important thing. We can go with either you can integrate with your own workflows, like as I said, Jenkins plugins. If you want to run any DevOps deployment from your Jenkins plugins, you can use as well. So, and also you can do like a multi-cloud deployments. That's another thing, you can orchestrate multi-cloud deployments. So if you find any kind of errors during the build stage or a deployment stage, either you can automatically or manually roll back into the previous stage. So this is another feature is supported from the OCI DevOps. So when we going for the next service, I have like a container engine for Kubernetes. So what is it actually? It's a managed Kubernetes container, which you can deploy your own application or your container-based application. And it's try to create and scale, manage and control your own Kubernetes clusters instantly. So you can do it very quickly. You can you can apply your Kubernetes YAML files very quickly from there. So what problem does this solve? So if you come up with a Kubernetes, we have like a Minikube and other like on-premise Kubernetes cluster. We have like a very too complex and very costly to maintain, and it's kind of so hard to integrate with Kubernetes registry. So the build process and the container lifecycle management. For here, we got like everything like OCIR, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Registry, and Kubernetes cluster. Everything is under single lifecycle management. And also, when you come with a problem does it solve, it's too difficult to manage and control with production cluster. So we can make it like a different cluster and different namespaces. You go and go with the test or dev or production, and also it solve it very quickly. And the key benefits we are getting from the Kubernetes Oracle Container Engine for Kubernetes that enable developers to get started and deploy containers very quickly. So every time we are coming with the DevOps team, there is a visibility and all the things what they did. And there is a control with the Kubernetes management. And also it's combined with production grade container orchestration that open the Kubernetes with control security and IAM. And it come up with a high predictable performance in the Oracle next generation cloud infrastructure. That's a very good key benefit when you're considering with the Oracle Container Engine for Kubernetes. So when we are working with OKE, we definitely work with OCIR. So the gray shaded area is kind of a function that Oracle manage for the customers. So including the registry and the image storage and the container engine, which is managed by Kubernetes. So when you come up with the HCD and master node, the Oracle will manage and for the high availability setup for the customer. So when you are going with the upgrade to a new version of Kubernetes, we'll also support it in the container engine dashboard within the OCI console. So the only thing you need to do, the customer need to manage the cluster or worker nodes that are set up by managed services for the instance in their own OCI account or tenancy that is shaded in the customer OCI tenancy access, that is going with VM-based cluster or nodes or a bare metal cluster or node. That's the only thing customer need to manage. So when you're going with the integration with this OKE, so we can either connect all these third-party identity system, maybe like a Active Directory or everything like from the for the identity and access management. And then you can have like, if you have like an application users, either you can go with the low CI load balancers for the, if you have like MySQL or database or any kind of a database, if you want to create any kind of a persistent volume planes over storage classes, we've also supported OCI block storage and file storage. And we have, like, as I mentioned, we have like a container images for the OCI container registry. And the latest, we introduced OCI vulnerability scanning as well for the security. And also we can include OCI Vault for a secret. So this is another feature you can add it to the Kubernetes deployment. And for the monitoring, we can directly access monitoring, logging, and auditing with the governance. So when you come up with the worker nodes, we have like a bare metal, compute, or the virtual, either these shapes, x86, flex, ARM, or GPU size. And for the network, we'll go with the OCI VCN and security group and the routing table. So when you come with today's session, we can integrate this CI/CD platform and the automation with OCI DevOps. Either we can use it directly from the OCI DevOps. If we want, we can make it as a Terraform for the resource manager, and we can deploy all resources from there. So today's use case, I'm going to discuss about OCI DevOps blue-green deployment. So you can see like a developer is trying to commit the code to the OCI repository, or if it is the OCI repository is mirrored by GitHub or any other personal Bitbucket or any kind of a repository. So then we directly, when you push the code, it will take as a trigger and it will try to run the build stages. So for the build stages, first we are going to deliver artifacts. The first one, it's going to be it's delivered for the container registry. And if you have like a Kubernetes manifest file, it's going to deliver for the artifacts repository. So after that, for the deployment pipeline, we have like several ways you can do the blue-green deployment. So for one way, you can do it for the OKE, and another one, you can do it for the instances, for the like a group, multiple instances. So here we got like the one I'm trying to explain today is for the Oracle Container Engine. So it's used for the OKE, and we use as two namespaces, blue and green. And from there, we have like an Nginx controller, which is used for a production load balancer. And from there, you can see all these monitoring, logging, and notification. Or also you can integrate with OCI functions. For the demo, I'm going to switch for my Oracle Cloud Console. So this is how the Oracle Cloud console is look like. So the demo processes, I have like a two recently visit like a DevOps and the container registry. So all these two projects are underlined in the developer services. If you go into the developer services, you can see the Kubernetes cluster, container registry, container instances, container registry, and artifact registry, which is we are going to use. And for the DevOps, you have the DevOps overview and the projects. So first of all, I'm going to describe a little bit about how you can create the Kubernetes cluster, which is I already create one, but I just want for the demonstration purposes, I just try to create one. So there are two ways of creating Kubernetes. Either you can create quick create and you can go with the custom create. So the one I'm using right now is very quick create version. If you have their own customized version, if you have like any kind of a customized images, so you can use customized create. So here, what I'm trying to do is to do the quick create. So first of all, I'm giving the name for the Kubernetes cluster and the compartment I'm going to host and the version. So we do have the latest version like 1.285.4. And when you come up with the Kubernetes API endpoints, either you can go with private endpoint or a public endpoint. If you have a private endpoint, we need to have like a Bastion host or a Bastion service we can use for as a Oracle you already provide. And if it is a public endpoint, you can directly go with the config file. And there are two node type, either with managed node or a virtual node. So the managed node, you can provision with the compute instance in your tenancy and you are charged for the 4 hours those instances use. So the virtual node, which is normally what we do, like a virtual worker nodes are virtual, and the resources are executed for the Kubernetes pods and provision dynamically as needed. So when you compare with the Kubernetes worker nodes, we have like a private worker nodes and the public worker nodes. So most of the customers, they use like a private worker nodes because no one want to access the worker nodes from public. So here you can see you can select the shapes. So, and you can select the OCPUs and the network bandwidth. And images also you can select from. Right now we have only the Oracle Linux images, and also we have like a platform images also supported. So, and you have here you can give the node count, which is the number of worker nodes you are going to create. So I'm not going to create here. So I already have cluster created. So here, once you create this cluster, it will take like 10 minutes to create an entire Kubernetes cluster. So here you can see all this information, what you provided. And for the accessing the cluster, you can access from the Cloud Shell. That's the place you can get it from here for the developer tools. So this is kind of a managed cluster via Cloud Shell. Is like Oracle provide that feature from, you can directly access all these Kubernetes clusters from here. You don't want to worry about install any other softwares over there. So you can directly access from here using this command. So it's just like it's create the kubeconfig file, and then it will directly go with the public endpoint. If you have the local access, you need to have your own computer with OCI CLI install. And from that, you need to have the connection between your Oracle tenancy and your local with the private and public keys. And after that, you set up with that, you can directly connect with these two commands. And you can go with that. Right now, I already configured. So if you go with the cluster info, it's going to show my cluster details. So this is how you can connect from the Cloud Shell. So what I did is just ran only this command, and it will directly connect to the cluster. So this is the one thing I want to explain about the Kubernetes. So which I use for the OCI DevOps. So if I go back again for the DevOps service, so we have like a DevOps, we have like an overview and projects. So here I create one project, which is I have my Git repository, and which I already have like one simple microservice, and with the Docker file. And for the build spec, I already define all these things, what I need to do. So here I try to get my image and try to build my image from the Docker file. And then I'm trying to get two artifacts like a Docker image and the deployment manifest file, Kubernetes manifest file. So those are the two artifacts I'm going to create. So, and for the, we're going back to the DevOps project. So here I'm trying to get like here it's a code repository. I try to mirror my code repository from my GitHub repository. For that, I need to have an external connection. So which is I use my personal access token. So here everything is synchronized. But if you want to create an external connection for your GitHub or a Bitbucket or any other provided SaaS connection, so you need to provide the required for here. If I have like a GitHub connection, I already set up this vault, enter my credentials. So if I go to the vault, so here I use one of the vault and enter. I create a master encryption key, and here I create my GitHub personal access token. So when you create a secret, either you can give it's a plain text, and you need to select the master encryption key, and then you can use it from here. The one I use as a default secret, and then you can get the secret as a personal access token if you're using for a GitHub. So I'm going to cancel this one. And for this project, I'm trying to add environment. So which is the OKE cluster I created. So it's something like there are three ways of adding this environment. So first one is my use case is I'm using Oracle Kubernetes engine. So in case I use that one, and if you have any functions or any other instance group setup, you can do it as well. So here, if you go with the Kubernetes, you can provide all the details, which is I already provide the cluster one. And for another thing I want to discuss the trigger. So trigger, which I use, because if you have a push in one of the GitHub repository, so then whenever it get triggered, so if you have any push or any kind of a thing, it will take it as an event, and it will automatically run the build pipeline. So here, either you can use the same way you can configure for the OCI code repository or a GitHub or GitLab, any other providers from here. So which is here, I already created my Git trigger. So it will take my push command, and whenever I had a push command, it will take as a trigger, and it will take it for my code repository, which is I mirrored from the GitHub. So when I'm going for the two different things I explained, that is the build pipeline and the deployment pipeline. So those are the two things we need to work on when you doing the CI and CD pipelines. So before that, I have like artifacts I want to create before doing this one to the Docker images and the Kubernetes manifest file, which I explained it earlier. So these are the two areas I need to create first. If you go back to the developer service. First, you need to create a container registry that you need to get all the images to here. That's what I create the OKBG. That's my container registry, which is going to build my code. And the second one is the artifact registry, which I use the artifact OKBG, which is the Kubernetes manifest file, which already, because I was running this pipeline. So you can see with my artifact registry and with the hash value. So we may go back again for the projects. So here, like in the artifacts, you need to create those two artifacts. You need to add those artifacts. For the first one, I need to add a container image repository. And here I need to provide with my region and also region key, like if it is Phoenix, I will put like a PHX and OCIR/IO and / the tenancy name. You can get it from here, my tenancy name. And for the repo, I already provide my name and the OKBG. So, and the hash value. And for the deployment artifact, you need to do the same thing. So you need to select the Kubernetes manifest and you need to provide this artifact source, which is my repository, which I already have the OKBG. And then you need to give like an existing location with the, either if you are using like some kind of a hash value, then we need to provide here. So if I go here, so you can see the build run hash value I already provided. So the other one I want to go with that. So the build pipeline and the deployment pipeline. So the first one, I want to create my build pipeline. So I want to create a build pipeline. It's just a simple name. And then once you have that, you come up with like this. So here I have like 3 steps. First one, I need to build my images and artifact registry. And then I need to push and deliver it to the container registry and the artifact registry. So after that, I need to trigger my deployment pipeline. For this one, normally you need to do like, so once you click here, you need to do like add stages and go with the manage build. Here we have like all these things, like if you go with the manage build, you need to first provide all this information which you already defined here, like in the build spec YAML, the first step. So I already have the build spec YAML, which I already defined all these artifact registries and deployment registries. So here I need to provide those things here and just add. For the second one, the push artifacts, you need to click again the next one as an add stage. And I need to go to the deliver artifacts. And here you need to provide the artifacts we added, those 2. And you need to select add. For the third one, deploy to the OK trigger deployments. That's the stage we are going to trigger the deployment. So here we select next, and it will take it to the next stage, which is the deployment artifact deployment pipeline. So which is I already created the deploy pipeline. So it will automatically, when you run to the one stage and the second stage and third stage, it will automatically go to the deployment pipeline. So if you go with the deployment pipeline, I already create one pipeline. And here I provide all these, the deployment, what I need to get it done. So here, which I added as a stage, here I use blue-green strategy, which is I define as my Kubernetes manifest file. And if you want to directly deploy it in the Kubernetes cluster without consider about the blue-green strategy, you can add it as a manifest to the Kubernetes cluster. If you think about you are going to do it as a canary deployment, you can go with that. If you think about instance group, and then you can use this option. if you have like an inbuilt functions, which is already created from the function application, you can use here, this option. And if you have like a installed Helm chart from your Helm chart, you can directly go with there. And also if you have like the second step I added as an approval. So if you have any kind of a person need to approve before the deployment, you can add as an approval. So then you can go manually and then approve. After that, it will go going to deploy into the Kubernetes cluster. So here, these are the two integrations which is having recently for the execute shell command. That's also another option. You can directly get the shell and you can use it from the shell. And from here, we can go with the invoke your functions with the custom logic to your existing function. So here I already created the deployment pipeline. So let me run this and show you how exactly it's going to work. So go to the projects. So right now I have like a simple code. So I'm going to change this into 5. And here I'm trying to push the code and I change into 5. And I'm trying to push this code. So once you push here, so it will automatically trigger my trigger, which I defined here, and it will take as my push notification, and it will go to my code repository. Here I use as a mirroring synchronized for the interval is 1 minute. So if you go for the, you need to take 1 minute. So in that case, I'm trying here, you can see the mirroring in progress. So whenever I got like a push command, so it will take it here in the mirror in the progress. So this will take a little time. Let me see if so still there, mirroring in progress. So once you finish this mirroring is done, you can see the file which I changed into 0.5, the version. And then it will, once you finish this mirroring, it will go back to the, let me see if I, yeah, it's mirroring is done. I think I need to refresh. Yeah, you can see like a 0.5, which I changed. And after that, it will go to the, when you check with the build pipeline, it will trigger the build pipeline, which is from the my commit ID. So if I click over here, so it will, so without human intervention, it will automatically do the trigger build, which first we are going to create the images and the artifact registry from the Kubernetes manifest file. And after that, it will going to push the artifact into the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Registry and for the Kubernetes manifest file for the Kubernetes registry. And after that, it will kick the deployment pipeline from the third step. So for this one, it will take like I already ran this one. So we'll take like 5-6 minutes. So during that time, I can answer any questions. So one of the things when it's running here, so I want to show one, I forgot to duplicate this one, the one I forgot to tell about. When you're creating a project, you need to have a topic. So, yeah, if you go with the projects, and you edit, So here, this is the topic you need to create before creating this DevOps project. So you can do it from the notification and from the subscribe to the email server, and you can create the topic. It's a one straightforward thing. So here, how it's going to look like. So still we didn't running the build pipeline. And if you go into the, it's first stage is complete, and it's going to push the artifact. So the good thing is everything, when you run each steps, you can see the logs. So sometimes it will take a little bit time to logs to appear, and you can see what exactly is done from here. So it's a good thing if you are doing a troubleshoot or any other thing, you can directly go here and see what exactly is done within the pipeline, like in a build pipeline or a push notification or deploying. If you have any error, you can directly go into the to the logs and you can check it. And another one, if you have to check these logs, so you can go directly. We have like a logs feature, which we have in here. You can directly go here and you can check the logs, which is displayed here. So right now, it's taking a little bit time to appear, but here it's taking like a real time. You can see the logs. So right now it's trying to execute the pushing the artifacts for the container registry and the Kubernetes manifest file. So if you go into the build pipeline and if you have like a deployment pipeline, so you don't see this deployment pipeline is triggered. Still, it's not showing because it's running the build pipeline, because the build pipeline is still it's running through the pushing artifacts. So once you get this done, we can go into the deploy to OCI build pipeline. Yeah, there's another question asked about, is there any way to configure pipeline using the code? So right now we have like a graphical user interface, so which we provided here. So if you want to do it from the code by itself, so here, if I go to the projects, in the artifacts, here you can give it the command specification, and from the specification, either you can select inline. So here you can provide all custom features, but still it's in the here in the DevOps in here. So that's the thing we need to work on. The if you want to go with the here, we don't have any specific command, but if you want to do like to the build your image, you can provide as a command. So you can see here I provide like a build command. But if you want to push your artifacts, you need to definitely go with here. So right now it's the deploy, the kick the deploy to OCI deployment pipeline. If I go to the OCI and then check the deployment pipeline, here you can see the in progress, which it triggers from the build pipeline. So here it's already deployed in the first section. And the second one, the people, if you want to get any kind of security things you need to deploy. So here I had added the approval. So once the person with the team lead or anyone, you can here go and approve, then it will go to the next stage. This is how you can work as a multiple team members. If you have like if you're working with a different branches, you can go with that. So once you approve it will go to the next stage and it will create the traffic, which I have the ingress controllers and those kind of a thing it's work on over here. So once you finish the deployment, so I can see my pod is running. So the one I have it. So here you can see all these deployments is configured. So previous deployment, this is my ingress controller load balancer. I have a NS blue. So this should be changed it to the green once I have the new deployment. So this is how it works with the two namespaces with the NS namespace green and namespace blue. So that's the basically it for covers everything for when you're going with this entire pipeline. So you don't have any kind of a, unless we have like a, here we need to have an approval. If you don't want to do any kind of approval, you can remove this step. Then you can directly go and deploy into the Oracle Kubernetes engine. So the virtual coordinate, so we have provided like a 5-day online event for a jumpstart for a cloud development. So we have like as our team, we provide like a hands-on experience on all the cloud services. And our engineers are worked one-to-one with your team and facilitate rapid knowledge sharing. If you have like a DevOps use case, we provide with our engineer and we can work with your team to get as a prototype for your application. And we can leverage your use case. This is like a free service which we provide from the Oracle, and there are minimum requirements are met, like we need like a 3 weeks notice to get this done. So when you go with the coordinate experience, we have like if you have like your own use case, we work with our team members and see how it's going to work with the Oracle Cloud offerings. And then if I decide like a 3 weeks of time period, so we are trying to get our Oracle engineers aligned with you, and per day, we like 4 hours per day with 5-day week. And either we can go with the morning or an afternoon session. And then we'll try to get the first pass prototype with you, with your engineers. And then we come up with a solution as your use case solution. So if you have any kind of coordinate opportunities, so you can directly email us or like this email address, coordinate_us_grp@oracle.com. Or if you have, you can directly send in the Zoom chat, so then we can directly contact with you.
All right. Well, with that, I'd like to say thank you all so much for joining us today, and we hope to see you again next time.